Sometimes the smallest act of kindness doesn't just change someone's day, it creates a ripple that transforms an entire community. This is the story of how one elderly woman opened her door to 15 strangers in a snowstorm, and woke up to find 100 motorcycles parked outside her home. We live in a world where first impressions often define how we treat others. It is human nature to make quick assumptions based on what we see: the clothes someone wears, the style they choose, the tattoos on their skin, or the reputation of the group they belong to. But this story of the kind old lady who sheltered 15 bikers in the middle of a raging snowstorm teaches us that appearances rarely reflect the true character of a person. When the woman saw the stranded bikers outside her window, she didn't see intimidating figures in leather jackets or roaring engines associated with rebellion or trouble. She saw human beings in need of help, cold, exhausted, and stranded. Many in her situation might have closed the blinds, locked the door, or called someone else to deal with the situation. It would have been easy to assume the worst simply because of stereotypes, yet she chose to ignore the outer image and respond with empathy rather than fear. She welcomed them into her home and treated them with the same care she would give to anyone else in danger. Her kindness revealed something powerful: that people are not defined by the labels society attaches to them. The bikers, moved by her trust and generosity, responded in ways that shattered those stereotypes even further. They were respectful, grateful, and protective of her home. The next morning, when over 100 bikers arrived to show appreciation, it proved that goodness exists everywhere, even in groups often misunderstood or judged unfairly. This key point reminds us to look beyond the surface, because when we do, we discover that kindness, loyalty, and humanity can come from the most unexpected places. In life, there are moments when action requires courage, especially when fear, uncertainty, or social norms hold us back. Many people see a problem and wait for someone else to solve it, convincing themselves that it's not their responsibility or that it's too risky. This story of the kind old lady and the stranded bikers is a perfect example of why hesitation can cost opportunities to do something meaningful. When she saw the 15 bikers stuck in the snowstorm, she could have easily followed the path most would, closed her door, stayed safe, and left them to figure things out on their own. That would have been the easier choice, the one free of discomfort or risk. But she didn't hesitate. She acted immediately. Her decision to step forward, despite any fear or uncertainty, is a lesson in the power of initiative. She didn't pause to analyze the situation, weigh the risks, or question whether she was capable of helping. She simply opened her home and offered warmth, shelter, and kindness. That single act of courage created a chain reaction that went far beyond the immediate moment. By choosing to act when others might have hesitated, she not only provided essential help to those bikers, but also inspired a larger community to come together in gratitude and support. Acting when others hesitate requires a mindset that prioritizes compassion over comfort. It means trusting your instincts to do the right thing, even when it is inconvenient or uncertain. It is in these moments that leaders are born, heroes are made, and ordinary people become catalysts for extraordinary outcomes. The lesson here is simple but profound. If we wait for someone else to take responsibility, change may never come. But if we step forward, even in small ways, we can spark a wave of kindness and courage that transforms lives. It's easy to underestimate the power of a single act, especially when it seems small or insignificant. We often think that to make a difference, we must do something huge or extraordinary. Yet the story of the kind old lady and the 15 stranded bikers proves the opposite. Even the simplest gestures can create waves far beyond what we imagine. By offering a warm meal, a safe place to rest, and blankets during a freezing snowstorm, she performed an act that, on the surface, might have seemed modest. To her, it was just the right thing to do. But that one choice didn't just affect 15 bikers. It eventually reached over 100, sparking a chain of generosity and gratitude that no one could have predicted. Every small act of kindness contains the potential to grow. A smile, a listening ear, a helping hand, or in her case, shelter in a snowstorm, can inspire others to act in ways they might not have before. The bikers didn't just leave after being helped. they carried the story back to their community. They spread it to friends, fellow bikers, and networks that stretched far beyond her neighborhood. By the next morning, the old lady's simple gesture had multiplied into an outpouring of support, respect, and collective action, showing how one small decision can ripple outward, influencing hundreds of lives. This principle applies to all areas of life. Small actions, consistently performed with care and intention, accumulate into something powerful. The world is a network of interconnected lives, and every kind act strengthens that connection. The lesson here is clear. You don't need fame, wealth, or authority to make a difference. A small act, done with genuine intention, can set off a chain reaction that grows in ways you could never foresee, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary stories. One of the most powerful lessons from the story of the kind old lady and the stranded bikers is that genuine kindness has a way of coming back to you. When she opened her home during the snowstorm, she gave without expecting anything in return. She didn't ask for recognition, reward, or repayment. She simply saw a need and acted. Yet the response she received demonstrates a universal truth. When we act selflessly, we often inspire others to reflect that goodness back, sometimes in ways that far exceed our imagination. The bikers' reaction was a perfect example of this reciprocity. They didn't just thank her and leave. They returned the next morning in overwhelming numbers, over 100 motorcycles strong, to show their appreciation. They offered help with chores, gifts, and gestures of support. This wasn't about repayment in a transactional sense. It was about a moral and emotional reciprocity, response to the trust, care, and respect she had shown them when she had no obligation to do so. Her single act of kindness multiplied and returned in ways she could never have predicted. Reciprocal kindness is not about expecting something back. It's about creating a cycle of generosity that spreads naturally. When someone experiences genuine compassion, it often motivates them to act similarly, reaching out to others and continuing the chain. This cycle reinforces the idea that good deeds are contagious, and one small, heartfelt action can inspire countless others. The lesson here is clear. When we give without expecting, we create an environment where kindness thrives. By treating others with care, trust, and empathy, we invite similar energy into our lives. Acts of generosity and goodwill are rarely one-sided. They echo, reverberate, and often return to us in ways that remind us of the beauty of human connection and the extraordinary impact of simple, thoughtful gestures. One of the most striking lessons from the story of the kind old lady and the bikers is how compassion can connect people across divides we often think are unbridgeable. In our daily lives, it's easy to separate ourselves from others based on differences in age, appearance, social status, or lifestyle. The bikers and the elderly woman could not have seemed more different on the surface. She was a quiet, elderly neighbor. They were a group of loud, leather-clad motorcyclists. Most people would have assumed they had nothing in common, and that interaction might even be dangerous. Yet, her act of compassion tore down those invisible walls. By opening her home and treating the bikers with respect and care, she created a bridge of trust and human connection. That simple gesture turned strangers into friends and established a bond that transcended societal labels. What might have been a moment of fear, misunderstanding, or judgment became a shared experience of kindness, gratitude, and mutual respect. The next morning, when 100 bikers showed up at her doorstep to help and support her, it wasn't just a display of reciprocity. It was a testament to the connections that compassion can create. Compassion acts as a bridge because it communicates understanding and empathy without requiring words or prior acquaintance. When we show genuine concern for someone else's well-being, it signals that we see them as human beings deserving of care and dignity. This, in turn, encourages openness, trust, and collaboration, even between people who might seem worlds apart. The broader lesson is that compassion has the power to unite communities, heal misunderstandings, and create bonds that might have seemed impossible. When we act with genuine care, we don't just help one individual. We connect hearts, build trust, and foster unity in ways that ripple far beyond the immediate moment. One of the most powerful messages in the story of the kind old lady and the bikers is that you don't need wealth, fame, power, or special skills to make a meaningful impact. Change often begins with ordinary people taking small, courageous steps. This elderly woman, living a quiet life, could easily have assumed that she was too old or that her actions wouldn't matter. Yet, by simply opening her door and showing kindness to 15 stranded bikers, she sparked a chain reaction that transformed her entire community. Her example proves that anyone, regardless of age or circumstance, has the potential to inspire profound change. Change doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes it's a single act of courage, compassion, or generosity that resonates with others. By helping the bikers, she not only provided immediate relief, but also modeled the behavior of empathy and selflessness. The bikers, in turn, were inspired to multiply her kindness by returning the next morning with over 100 motorcycles, offering help, gifts, and gratitude. Her one small action became the catalyst for a movement of goodwill and community support. The lesson here is simple: we underestimate the power of our own actions. Every thoughtful choice, every act of kindness, every moment of courage has the potential to create ripples far beyond what we can imagine. When we step forward to do the right thing, we demonstrate that change is not the responsibility of someone else. It is within our reach. Ordinary people, acting with intention and heart, can transform lives, communities, and even cultures. In essence, this story reminds us that inspiration is not reserved for the famous, the powerful, or the extraordinary. It lives in each of us, waiting for a moment to be activated. One person, acting with compassion and courage, can set in motion a chain of events that changes the world, proving that anyone truly can inspire change. So, what can we take away from this remarkable story? It reminds us that kindness, courage, and compassion are not bound by age, status, or circumstance. A simple act of opening a door, offering help, or showing care can create ripples far beyond what we imagine. When we refuse to judge, when we act while others hesitate, when we recognize the power of small gestures, when we trust in the reciprocity of kindness, when we build bridges through compassion, and when we believe that anyone can inspire change, we become agents of hope in a world that often needs it the most. Let this story be a call to action. Let us open our doors, both literally and metaphorically. Let us choose empathy over fear, generosity over indifference, and courage over hesitation. Each of us has the power to spark a ripple that can grow into a wave of goodness. And perhaps one day our small actions will create a story as inspiring as that of the kind old lady and the bikers, proving that no act of kindness is ever too small to change the world.